my knees, shaking on my thigh. Post me a pic, finna make me a profit. When the liquor hit, then the gets.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Madwoman podcast. My name is Sorry, our producer over here is just having a little bit of fun with the sound effects. Are you done? I'm just kidding. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Madwoman podcast. I am Olivia. Sitting across from me, I have my girl, Kira. What's up, Kira?
Hello, everybody.
Thank you guys for listening and being here again for what episode is this? 4. Episode number 4. Yeah.
Already.
We've already been doing this for a month. That's cray. Today, we're going to talk about something kind of heavy and slight trigger warning, just a brief mention of sexual trauma. No detail or anything, but we are talking about releasing societal shame surrounding sexuality, kind of tearing down taboo around sexuality. We experience a lot of that in our daily lives as dancers, especially at Madhouse, focused on letting that side of us be free and be open. And it's the most beautiful thing to put into practice and to see women start to embrace their sexual side, sometimes for the first time, and in a way that's so nourishing to themselves and their own bodies and their own souls, and it's not for anyone else. So it's a really important topic. It's very, like I said, heavy at certain points and also very light and beautiful. So yeah, I want to just get into it and start by kind of talking about my own personal background with sexual shame and how I've been able to kind of heal from that. And then we can just kind of go from there on different topics. So for me personally, again, this is a hard subject to talk about. A, because it's heavy. B, because there is so much taboo around being sexual as a woman and so much shame and programming that's like put into us that like we must be pure and innocent, like literally from day one. Like literally a wedding dress is white because you're supposed to be pure. You know what I mean? Like all of the things that are ingrained in us from when we are little girls are you cannot be sexual unless you're with a man that you're going to commit your life to. You know what I mean? Like it's just like
get passed from one man to the next. It's usually your dad passing you off to
right.
who you're going to get married to in your pure white dress.
Right. In your innocence and all that. It's just, I mean, obviously incredibly antiquated, outdated, and super problematic. So, for myself, like I said, slightly hard to talk about, but just to be open and honest. And I think that that's something really beautiful about this podcast community and having Kira sitting across from me, who is a very safe person. And you guys, you mad women that are a safe space. I do have, like many women, a few sexually traumatic incidences in my past. And, you know, in college, a lot of that had to do around partying. I put myself in some positions that were dangerous and unhealthy and surrounded by drinking. And I honestly, I put myself, again, in situations that were unsafe mentally and physically. I gave my body to people that absolutely did not deserve it. And I didn't actually want to be doing any of those things, right? Like that, I convinced myself that I did when I would hook up with someone casually. I convinced myself that like, yeah, this is what I want. I think it was a coping mechanism for being taken advantage of sexually. Like my coping mechanism for those events was to basically be like, no, I chose that. I chose that. So now I'm going to go and like put myself out there in this way and hook up with people casually because that was what I wanted. Like it was like a denial of what had actually happened. Yeah. And yeah, I did not actually want to be hooking up with people casually. I do think that I had to learn that from being in those situations. And I learned that really what I wanted was just to be loved and like seen by someone. And I know this now about myself, right? I was just a baby. I was a freshman in college, you know, like I didn't know what was going on. And because I did hook up with some people casually, I internalized that as I'm a bad person because of all of the societal shame that's put on women for exploring their sexuality and having those experiences and stuff. And just because it wasn't what I actually wanted, but there are women who genuinely want that, like, you know, those casual connections and that type of intimacy with people. And the problem is in the programming and the messaging that we receive, that is not okay no matter what. Just because it wasn't okay for me doesn't mean it's not okay. Or just because it wasn't okay for me doesn't mean it's not okay for someone else. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think
I
know what you're trying to say. I think,
but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
There's no shame around. I just want to be clear. No shame around casually hooking up. It just wasn't what I actually truly wanted to do in my soul, and it caused a lot of like pain and trauma because I internalized it as I'm a slut, I'm bad, I'm all these things. And so for years, I had so much darkness and pain and shame around that, and I actually didn't even realize how big of a part of me it was until probably 2 or 3 years after I graduated college. Like this was probably just like 3 years ago, really, maybe 3.5, 4 years ago. I was at a party and this girl came up to me and was like, hey, oh my God, like I haven't seen you since that happened. Like, are you okay? Just out of nowhere. I was in a line in a bathroom, like, or in a bathroom line at a party.
Was she? Like a friend?
Oh no, I didn't know her at all. So this is where, let me give you some more background. I was like, sorry, do I know you? Like, I don't know, what you're talking about. And she was like, you don't remember me? Like, we went to that guy's house together and he like took advantage of us and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And I was immediately like heart racing, panicked, like couldn't remember where I was, or like just like fully was like panic attack mode because it was so triggering. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, when was this? And she was like, it was just a week ago, last weekend. And I immediately was like, oh, this girl is like super drunk or high or something. And it's not actually me because I was at home with my mom last weekend. Like this didn't actually happen. But that was the moment for me that triggered me into realizing like, whoa, I have a lot that I need to like look at from my past because this is a very triggering event for me, and like, exactly. So that was what prompted me to like go to therapy. And definitely for anyone that has experienced any sort of like sexual trauma, please take those steps with a professional and go to therapy and all of that. Kira and I both go to therapy. It's like
live,
critical.
love therapy.
Yes, absolutely.
Very important.
So that was like first big step. I also did a lot of, you guys know if you've listened to the other episodes, I do a ton of meditation and internal work, shadow work, and definitely just reprogrammed this constant loop in my mind that was subconscious, right? Like on an intellectual level, I was not like, you're a slut, you're a bad person, blah, blah, blah. Like I knew logically like that none of that makes me a bad person. I'm an amazing person. Like I'm loved by all these people and all this, but it didn't matter what I thought intellectually. Like in my subconscious mind, in the back, there was this like hunched up shadow version of me that was just like crying in the corner, like I am a slut, I'm a bad person, all these things. The word slut was just like very clear to me in my mind. And it's such a harsh word. And that is what I thought of myself on a subconscious level. So I have worked through that. It's gone now. It's like, anyone that's done any kind of like work on themselves, it's like you're constantly working on yourselves in all sorts of ways. But I just feel for women that have been in situations similar to me, or even if you haven't been in a situation similar to me, like, or you don't have specific trauma, like all of us have been victims of the societal messaging that we're talking about. Like
there was a specific example that happened to me. I drinking at a party, was with a guy. We went to the bathroom. He started kissing me. It was so long ago. I just remember he like tried to push me down to give him head, and I didn't want that. I also was in the bathroom with him, and I was just like making out with him for like fun. And then he pushed me down, and then I like pushed back up, and he was like, "Don't be a little bitch," or he said something like that. I think I slapped him and I walked away.
Hell yeah.
And then he like yelled back. The whole point of this is saying, when they yell back and they're like, "Oh, you're a slut," or like they call you those names after you just said no and they're not happy about it. That can also be a whole other conversation.
Where do I go from there?
Well, I have a question. It's kind of a little bit of a tangent, but you talking about in your brain, the little part of you that has slut written across it.
Yeah.
For me personally, I started going to therapy for grief. Olivia knows this. And when I get sad, how I like talk about my brain is like, if it's a box, the sad part of me is this little tiny girl, like in the corner, just darkness around her. And it's like the dark hole that if I allow myself to go into those thoughts, it's going to envelop my entire brain and it scares me. But it was just funny to me that you also considered it a little tiny square in your brain when you were talking about that with your version of whatever trauma we all share. And that was just kind of wild to hear that our brains are kind of similar.
Well, I think they are similar, and I think we're both kind of visual people also. Like we have, for me, it was the visualization that was really helpful in healing, because so to elaborate on what that version of myself was I was doing a shadow work, which basically means you go in and find the deepest, most like dark, painful parts of yourself that you don't really let other people see. And for me, that point, like, this is why even talking about this is hard for me.
This might make me cry. Because I literally this is what I talk about in therapy right now. Like,
really?
I'm gonna wake up tomorrow morning and talk about this.
Yeah. It's like a part that I'm really afraid to like tell people and share with people. So speaking into a mic is crazy, but it's literally my shadow self was this girl who was just crying and sobbing and like literally in the fetal position deep in my subconscious mind. Like I visualized her. It's me. It's a version of me. And like, just like, yeah, the gray sat like totally the same. And I think what's beautiful about having a visualization is you can go in, and I made her stand up and I started hugging her. You know what I mean? And I asked her like, what do you need? Like, what do you need from me? And she was just like love, unconditional love. And like, I gave that to her in that moment. And this again, might not be for everyone. I'm very into this stuff, but I think having a visualization of your shadow self or whatever part of you that you're the most ashamed of is super powerful, because then you can take your highest self or the version of you now that knows better and take it to that shadow self, take it to that inner child, whoever it is that you need, whatever version of you need to give that love to, because that version of you deserves love in that moment, no matter what, you know? And so I gave her hugs and I gave her love, and I had to revisit her a few times. And now when I go to revisit her in my little brain, she's like not hunched over anymore. You know what I mean? She's like standing and she's powerful and all these things, but I had to put in the work for her.
I loved everything about that. I felt like I was just talking to my therapist.
Really? I know. Well, I feel like I'm talking to my therapist. Jesus Christ. So, I was able to release a lot of that shame, and it feels incredible to do that. And one really powerful thing about my career now and about Madhouse is that I feel like Madhouse is just a temple to women's sexuality. Like, it is the place where you can go to worship women, worship our sexuality, worship your own sensuality, your own sexuality. Like, it is just the most powerful place. And my favorite thing about it is that sexuality for me has been, like I just said, the root of so much darkness and pain, but is also now the root of so much of my power. And it's the root of my purpose as well. Like, the reason I'm so passionate about Madhouse is because I truly feel like empowering women in their sexuality is now my purpose, because I needed it so badly.
That's
and
so
now
beautiful.
I can give it to other people now that I have healed from it and found an outlet to safely express it.
And explore
it. Exactly. I obviously, we've both talked about this. We treat our bodies like temples now. And I treat my body like a temple now. Like, I don't, just give it to anyone, whatever. I learned my lessons there that it wasn't what I wanted to do. And I'm very deliberate about who I share it with. And most importantly, it's for me and only me. And we've talked about that before. And I think that's what dance and Madhouse does, is like, you are there to move for you and explore that part of yourself for you. And I think that's what gets mistaken a lot with the type of dance that we do and the way that we express our sexuality, is people assume we're doing it for the male gaze or for attention or compliments, just to, I don't know, just for all these reasons that are so just off base. Everyone is doing it for themselves. And that's the whole friggin' point. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I absolutely love to feel sexy. And like, I think that it's a really awesome way to share that with the world. And I want to be very clear that I'm also not like, just like blindly being like, don't sexualize me. Like, this is not a sexual thing. Like, it is a sexual thing and there's nothing wrong with that. But don't get it twisted that I'm doing it for someone else. I'm doing it for myself. But you can think that I'm sexy. Like, I'm not like, men, don't watch this and don't sexualize me or anything like that. Like, I am not kidding anyone that, yes, of course, like, we're shaking our ass on the floor. Like, it's inherently sexual. I'm not going to like take a video of that, post it and be like, don't you sexualize me. Like, I feel like that's what people are. There's so many hater comments on TikTok that are like, women say, don't sexualize me, and then turn around and dance like this. And it's like, first of all, not all women are the same. Like, the women that are saying don't don't like loop.
There's one, don't group it.
Don't group us all together. Like, just because I don't mind being sexualized is like not, that doesn't mean that another woman doesn't mind being, like, we all
There was
have
also
our own
quotation
preferences.
marks around sexualized when you just said that. Just people who aren't watching us. I think that's an important thing to add.
So like, there's so many haters on the TikTok that will just comment, and they'll comment things like, women ask not to be sexualized, and then turn around and go dance like this. And I'm like, first of all, I've never asked to not be sexualized. Like, I fully know that some women do ask to not be sexualized. I fully know that what I'm putting out there in the world is inherently sexual in nature. I'm not going to kid anyone and say that it's not going to be sexualized, because it is. And I just think it's like ridiculous. Like, it's not a one size fits all.
It's
not a one size fits all situation. And we do it for ourselves. But like, you can think I'm sexy, just be respectful about it, you know?
Period.
Like, I feel like there's so much internalized misogyny that we have to deal with as women. Especially, again, going back to like the TikTok comments and all of that. Like, there's so many women that are like slut shaming us and all this stuff. And it's like, first of all, the way that we're dancing has nothing to do with like who we sleep with. You know what I mean? It just like is so unrelated. But people just make this wild jump and these wild assumptions. And I think that the TikTok especially is what made me realize how taboo all of this still is. Because on Instagram and like just in our community at Madhouse, like our little bubble, it's been nothing but love and support for pretty much 2 years or a year and a half until our first TikTok went viral. And then it's blasted out to millions of people, literally millions of people, that all of a sudden are like, I realize, oh, not all of the world is ready for this yet. Like, this is super not okay for them in their minds, and they're not ready to see it. And that's about them, you know what I mean? Or it's not for everyone, but like, don't comment super violent or horrible things about us, you know? Like, there's just like really, there's bad people out there. There's bad people out in the world.
It's easy to hide behind a screen.
Yes. And I feel like that's where so much of the slut shaming and the just internalized misogyny and the hateful comments, that they're all behind a screen. Like, nobody has the balls to say anything in person. Like, everything is behind a screen now. And I think that they know that it's wrong. I think that they know it's a projection of their own insecurities onto other people. And that's another point that I want to get into also, is like, if you are receiving, you know, any kind of hate or just opposition to being yourself in a sexual way, whatever that means for you, like whatever choices you make in your sexual life, whatever you're doing, like dancing or anything like that, if you're putting it out there for the world to see and you're receiving any kind of pushback, like, just know that you can release that and know that that is a reflection of the person that's giving that to you. And that's not about you. And I think that that's really freeing to realize that you do not need to accept that, and you don't need to take it to heart. You can literally just shove it to the side and be like, that's on you, bro. Like, that is not my problem. That you obviously have these issues that you need to work through on your own. I want to know your thoughts on
I'm scared.
degrading music, because at Madhouse, we shake our ass to a lot of songs that are really not PC these days. And just like, for example, today in my class, I did a dance to Shake That by Eminem. And he's like, I heard you want a slut, hope you don't mind. I told her that you like it from... Oh, wait, how does it go? He said he wants a slut. Hope you don't mind. I told him how you like it from behind. Just like real, like
That was just my playlist last week.
oh my God, we both did it. It's obviously like doesn't align with what we actually believe about women, right? And like I would never call a woman a slut, but I think that there's something so powerful about reclaiming the narrative and just being like, yeah, we're gonna shake her ass this. Yeah, I'm a slut. Like when you call yourself a slut, you know what I mean? And it's like
I'm laughing right now because I have oh my gosh, what is the song? Shake That Monkey? Shake That Monkey? Is that what it's called? And in my playlist right now, and the one lyric that stands out to me every time I do it is when he's like, what does he say? And he just flat out says,
I bet you can't wiggle like that with a dick in her.
he's like, you're my slut for life.
Oh, yeah. No.
Like, whoa, bro.
They're aggressive,
Reel it in.
but they're so funny. Like, I feel like just can't not laugh.
It is.
So going back to that original taboo topic and tearing down the taboo, I think that Madhouse is really doing its part in tearing down the taboo. Like, I know so many women that have come to Madhouse, moved this way for the first time in their lives and felt super empowered. And like I said, it's been mostly support and all of that. But also like recently, as we're looking for a second studio space, I have been denied 2 studio spaces already just because the landlords are like, no, this isn't going to fly here. Like, we don't want your kind here is like what it feels like. You know what I mean? Like, just like, this is going to like bring down the quality of the tenants and customers and stuff like that. I mean, not in so many words, but that's like generally the kind of interpretation, right? And it's just this nasty assumption that anything sexual is trashy or not classy or slutty or just like impure, just bad. And it's like, that's not the case. Why are you laughing at me, Kira?
You're like, that's bad. You like that word.
Hey, I'm getting into it here. And that's just not the case. Like, it's not bad. It's a beautiful thing. And it's really unfortunate. And it honestly just revives my passion in talking about this stuff and getting it out there and giving women the freedom to move the way they want to move. So if you're listening and you want to start shaking your little booty, or you want to start going out there and hooking up with people and flirting with people, whatever it is that feels authentic to you to explore your sexuality, freaking do it and give yourself that permission. You are not trashy. You are not impure. You are a freaking goddess who is moving the way she wants to move, doing the things she wants to do.
And in charge of her sexuality.
Embracing pleasure. I think that's another thing, is pleasure is so threatening to men, especially when they see a woman who's like fully in their pleasure. And then also to women who are super roped into internalized misogyny and don't have that pleasure or freedom themselves and see it in another woman and are instantly like, feel the need to shame her or talk badly about her. And again, this judgment that is placed on other people, it's like really clear that that's not about you, right? On the flip side, when we're talking about judgment, I also want to challenge you to think about, are you someone who sees a woman doing something and you find yourself judging her, or in your mind, like maybe you catch yourself slut shaming her or whatever it is? Like, we've probably all done it before at some point and catch yourself definitely subconsciously because it's so internalized and so within us, and catch yourself in those moments and be like, hold on, why am I having this thought? A, is it something that I'm insecure about that I need to work on? B, is it internalized misogyny? How can I change this and realize that maybe this woman just has something that I want? She has the freedom to explore that part of herself, and I don't have it, and I want to have it, and you can have it. So in conclusion, just to wrap up this sort of conversation, I want everyone to know that they're not alone. First, find your community. Know that you're absolutely not alone. If you feel a lot of shame or darkness pulling you down, please find what works for you to pull yourself out of it. Start with, like we talked about, therapy. Find your community of people. dance it out, shake it out. A lot of physical somatic release is great, like we talked about in our episode about finding your feminine sensual energy. You can listen for a lot of tips there. But yeah, just let yourself be free. Give yourself the permission to explore the things you want. If you see another woman that is exploring her sexuality and you salute her and you praise her and you want to be like her, do it. If she can do it, you can do it. And find that inspiration in other people. Just embrace yourself and be kind to yourself and love yourself. And that's really all I have to say. There's no right or wrong. Just do what you need to do. It's your journey. Nobody else's. Say it, Kira.
Period.